Tuesday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day today so far. Hope you had a good weekend and a happy Mother's Day. I just spent Mother's Day in church and I won a $30 gift card to Waffle House, although that was the last one left. I would have chosen Cracker Barrel or IHOP over that, but that was the last gift card left to be given out and I won it, so get a free breakfast, lunch, whatever. I've only been to Waffle House once. And the last time I went was when I was a teenager, and I remember going there with my aunt and uncle and I think my mom and my brother and sister, and we were there, and I remember asking, where are the pancakes? Because I'm not a waffle person. I prefer pancakes, but I'll take it. It's free. It's nice. Also, really quickly, I can't talk too much about it because this is the first video I'm able to upload on YouTube after a 2-week ban. So I just do want to encourage people to go and watch Dinesh D'Souza's movie 2000 Mules. It's really, really good. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely insane. It'll probably make you mad, as it did me. I just could not believe what I was hearing and what I was seeing, but it's really, really good, so you should go watch it. I stopped doing my audio part of the podcast because it's not getting any views. I don't know if it's because of the previous one that I had that they deleted. I don't know if there's something going on that no one's seeing it, because I am putting it out there, but I'm not getting any activity on it. So I've decided just to stick with YouTube and Rumble. Anyway, so let's read our daily promise, which says, Thou which hast shewed me great and sore troubles shalt quicken me again, and shalt bring me up again from the depths of the earth. Psalm 71:20. Though we are faint with the troubles of this present age, though we are as dead men by the futility of our works, though we are perishing by the minute captive to the ravishing effects of Adam's guilt, though we deserve it not, still does the Lord stand ever by his people, faithful to revive their souls, faithful to bring his dying to new life everlasting, faithful to cleanse his downtrodden children, clothing them in the white robes of righteousness, and crowning them in glory. Praise the Lord, all you his people. He is the maker of new life, the crafter of all redemptive history, and yes, dear believer, he is ever worthy of your endless adoration. And that reminds me of a series that we're doing at church that we started last Wednesday, the signs of the end times, how we know the end is near. And I find that some people may find that terrifying. I find it exciting because you know that Jesus is coming back soon. And like I've said before, sometimes you have to look around at what's going on and think, how much more can we take? However, we've seen a lot of shifting. I've heard people use, the metaphor, I guess it's a metaphor, of the pendulum swinging, and the pendulum can only go so far before it has to swing back again. And I feel like we're hitting that tipping point of where it's going to start heading back. I know that Republicans have swept school boards across Tarrant County and taken those seats. And I think Republicans are going to wipe the floor during the midterm elections with governorships and Senate seats and House seats. I think we are going to take back over. I feel like some big wins are heading our way, especially with Roe v. Wade being overturned. And I did see an article that a poll that we thought that this was going to invigorate Democrats to get out and vote. However, after the leak of Roe v. Wade, Republican enthusiasm has shifted, and our points have gone higher. So it was like plus 11, but now we're plus 13. So enthusiasm in the Republican Party has also started people to get really excited about getting out there and voting, because we feel like some wins are coming along. So the first thing that I want to look at, and this has nothing to do with anything, let me see, here from The Blaze. I saw this the other day, and I've been watching this case, and I've noticed from listening to some of Amber Heard's deposition through her testimony actually in court that some of her stories have changed. And also, I don't see her exhibiting a woman who's been abused by this man sitting in front of her. She doesn't act like she's terrified to be giving this testimony with the man that supposedly abused her and, penetrated her with a liquor bottle right in front of her. I don't see the emotion. I think maybe we saw one tear actually come out of her eye. She's a terrible actress, and I don't believe anything she says. But this was from Blaze Media. What did Amber Heard put in her nose right in front of God and jury? So there's a video, and they're comparing her to Pulp Fiction, a scene from Pulp Fiction, where she snorts coke. I don't know if I can say that without getting banned on YouTube, but Chad Prather tweeted this out. Yo, sis, what you doing? And here's the video. And I'm going to talk over it so I don't get copyright strike or whatever, because I don't know where this is coming from. But it doesn't look like she blew her nose. It looks like she stuck the tissue up her nose and sniffed, which that's not usually how you use a tissue when you've been crying. At least I don't. But it says, a video of Heard's definitely not suspicious behavior has been making the rounds on social media, garnishing over 5 million views in just a matter of hours. Blaze TV host Chad Prather shared the viral video on Friday with the caption, "Yo sis, what you doing?" For reasons we can't explain, some people on Twitter seem to think Heard's actions had something to do with Coke, the bubbly beverage. Though why she would put that in her nose is beyond us. So there's just some tweets here. We are the people said that's a sneaky Coke bump right in front of God and jury. Dennis Gavin, quick bump on the witness stand. Heather Fritz, I thought you were supposed to exhale when you blow your nose. Am I doing it wrong? Ultra MAGA Minister of Truth, blow on the stands. Balls. Some who call me Tim, just a little booger sugar, MBD. Joe Rogan calls Amber Heard crazy, right? That was one that I was going to read, but I don't have time. I did do a whole video about the case called Why Men Stay Silent. What was it called? Why Men Stay Silent About Domestic Abuse, I believe is what it is. That one's on Rumble. I am going to put those up on YouTube now that I can post back on YouTube. I just have to upload them. Okay. I'm going to cover all the Blaze Media articles really quickly. I'm trying to go as quickly as I can because I'm on a time crunch. Dalen, my nephew, he's graduating tonight, and so I got to get this all done. And then I'm alone so I can record. Man rapes pregnant woman after being released that same week for raping another woman at a homeless encampment. Seattle police say one man raped a pregnant woman after being released in the investigation of a prior rape at the same homeless encampment. Myron Lee Jacobs is accused of raping a woman at his tent in the encampment near the intersection of 6th Avenue South and Airport Way South. Police responded to a medical call at the encampment, and when they arrived, they heard a woman scream for help from a tent. She was, quote, nearly naked, and next to her was a naked man they identified as Jacobs. He was arrested at the scene, and the woman told investigators she had been beaten and choked before being raped. Although the King County's prosecuting attorney's office found probable cause to charge the man, they had not yet sent the charges to the court on the date of his second hearing on April 28th. He was released because of court rules restricting the amount of time a suspect can be held in jail without charges. Those documents were received after he was already released. 3 days later, police say he struck again. Jacobs is accused of luring another transient woman into his tent where he beat her and then raped her. She was 7 to 8 months pregnant at the time of the assault. Court documents say Jacobs told the woman that he knew he would get away with raping her because he had been released for the prior rape in the same week. That woman somehow caught fire and was seriously burned while leaving the tent. Jacobs fled on a bike, but police found him at his tent the next day and arrested him for the second rape. Quote, the really heartbreaking part is that in the time that he was released, because the case wasn't referred to us yet, there was a second rape that happened, said Casey McNerney of the prosecuting attorney's office. Jacobs was charged with second-degree rape, third-degree rape, and unlawful imprisonment. He is being held at the King County Jail. King TV reported that the department's sexual assault unit only has 6 detectives, half of what it had in 2019, due to difficulties in hiring new officers. I believe that would have a lot to do with the defund the police movement and the all police are racist. That's probably why a lot of them quit. But I will tell you, apparently, even here in Fort Worth, sexual assault detectives are not on their A game. It's been almost 2 years, and I've still never heard back from the detective that was working my case. I had called, I had texted, nothing. I don't even know if he still works there. So maybe they just don't, maybe they have a hard time keeping police doing that type of job employed. I don't know. Moving on, I thought this was interesting. I just wanted to cover that because we know that in Democrat-run cities, people tend to, get away with committing crimes, and when they're arrested, they're released. It would seem that he was just released just because they were shorthanded and didn't get the stuff over in time, but who knows if that was done on purpose or not. Most likely. I could see it being done on purpose. So this other story here is about 3 Americans that were found dead at a Bahamas resort at Sandals. So you've probably seen those commercials where it's a Sandals commercial and it's the all-inclusive trip to the Bahamas. So on Saturday, Dr. Michael Darbill, the Bahamas Minister of Health and Wellness, told Eyewitness News Bahamas that guests at the Sandals Emerald Bay in Exuma were taken to a health clinic on Thursday. The ill patients were treated for nausea and vomiting, then they were released. Shortly after 9 a.m. on Friday, staff at the Sandals Emerald Bay reportedly contacted the Georgetown police station regarding a man that was found unresponsive in a villa. While authorities were en route, another man and woman were also found unresponsive in another villa, according to police. BuzzFeed News reported, quote, on arriving at the scene, police found a Caucasian male lying on the ground unresponsive in the bedroom of the first villa. A doctor later pronounced the victim dead. In another villa, authorities discovered an unresponsive Caucasian male slumped against a wall in a bathroom and an unresponsive Caucasian female on the bed, according to the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Both individuals showed signs of convulsion, police said. None of the victims had any signs of trauma, according to authorities. Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper said that the cause of death is unknown as of Friday. Now, I will tell you that this morning I listened, and this is as of Monday morning, I listened I was watching a news clip, and they talked about this, and they said possibly it was from an air conditioning unit. I guess some toxic, what would that be, Freon or anything that goes into an air conditioning unit. I don't know. That's what I heard. Something to do with the air conditioning units in the hotel. And I think another person has since died. So I think it's 4 Americans that have died, not just 3. But yeah, that's really sad. And I know that they said our State Department is investigating, or on top of the investigation, monitoring the investigation that's going on in the Bahamas. So we'll see what comes out of that with anything extra from what I already know. Let's talk about what's going on with Roe v. Wade. So an abortion protester claims that they have a right to interrupt Catholic Mass, and then they get put in place by parishioners, which I think is awesome. This is from Louder with Crowder by Joseph Gunderson. The left seems to believe everything they want is a right. They want free health care, so it's a right. They want to abort babies until 18 years of age, only slightly exaggerating, so it's a right. And they want to interrupt Sunday Mass at a Catholic church, so it's a right, except no. These protesters did themselves up in their favorite costumes for Margaret Atwood's overhyped tripe, The Handmaid's Tale, because they both have no imagination and are woefully ignorant, and interrupted a service at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels in Los Angeles, California. It would have to be in a liberal city, because this would never fly, say, at my parish. Yeah, not at my church either. Nothing happened there. So someone tweeted out, Roman God 7 said, Marxists tried to disrupt Mass at Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels. Security ushers and parishioners said they were not having it. Let's check it out.
Hey, you get off of him. You are not attacking anybody. You're attacking me right now. You started attacking me. No, you're going towards our preacher. All of these people watching.
What idiots.
Get out of it. You turned it into something else.
Clearly these people are demented and they have no lives. They're... Let's skip ahead and see.
Please, this is such a falsery. You even practice Christian things when you're out there.
What children? And all in the name of killing babies, honestly. They're so mad that they can't, that they may not be able to kill babies in certain states. It's a big stinking church. My goodness. And all in the name of killing babies, right? That's what they want. They're demonic and they want to kill babies. Except in California, nothing's going to change. It's not going to change. So stop freaking out. And if you don't like the restrictions on abortion in the state that you're in, move. Just like people that believe in their Second Amendment right, when they don't like what's happening in a state because they're not allowed to own guns, they pick up and they move to a state that aligns with their political beliefs, that they can have a gun. So if you can't kill your baby in Texas, pick up and move to California. And if you can't move, well, then stop having sex. That's all I can say. So after interrupting Mass, the protesters feel like they can get irate when asked to leave. Quote, I have a right as an American. Actually, you don't. You don't have a right to go into a private place, which a church is a private place. You don't have a right to go in there and disrupt what they're doing. That is not a right. You can peacefully protest outside in public. You cannot go into someone's church or into someone's business and do that. And while she certainly has the right to protest, she doesn't have the right to do so inside a church, especially as Mass is being conducted. I understand leftists seem to have an issue understanding the difference between private and public property. The communist brain disease destroys the ability to understand such concepts early on. But the church is private property, and they don't even have to be allowed on the grounds, let alone in the building. Frankly, I thought the ushers and parishioners who stood up to deal with them were far too kind. They should have literally picked them up and chucked them out the doors, where police should have been waiting for them so they could be arrested for trespassing. That's just me, though. It might be time for churches to start employing armed guards during services. There's nothing like a few guys at the doors with guns to keep the shrieking harpies away. While I can tell you, many of the people at our church carry guns. My dad does. I know a few of the women carry guns, so good luck getting into our church. You probably will not like the result if you come to our church and do that. Okay, Elon Musk says here that Elon Musk says quiet part out loud blasts Twitter's obvious left-wing bias. Excuse me. 8 simple words are all you need to describe why so many on the right enjoy the prospect of incoming Twitter CEO Elon Musk. The current CEO thinks free speech is old and busted. The CEO before refused to acknowledge Twitter's political bias, even as Tim Pool smacked him upside the head with example after example after example after example. Musk, he's willing to say out loud that Twitter has an obvious strong left-wing bias. Admitting you have a problem is the first step on the road to recovery. So, Serbanovich tweeted out, here you go, Elon. When Twitter employees invariably lie to you about enforcement policy, maybe they can explain why a verified account is allowed to incite terrorism without any care in the world about being banned. So the New York Times, there was a quote, anti-abortion group in Wisconsin is hit by arson, authorities say. And then someone tweeted out, more of this. May these people never know a moment of peace or safety until they rot in the ground. So there you go. So to recap, a fire broke out at the offices of an anti-abortion group in Wisconsin. So they threw some Molotov cocktails. Nobody was hurt. And they were quoted to have written something in graffiti that says, if abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either. Verified blue checkmark reporter Caroline Riley. issued a clear call for more domestic terrorism. A clear call for more domestic terrorism is what Twitter would call it, the White House too, for that matter, if a conservative reporter had said anything similar about a Planned Parenthood. Yet the tweet stayed up until Riley deleted her account, no doubt to start the next act in the play where she claims she was a victim of sexism because people criticized her for encouraging violence against people with a different political opinion than her. The Babylon Bee is still suspended for making fun of a Biden administration official. Libs of TikTok had someone call her for assassination and threatened to do it themselves, and she was told it didn't violate Twitter's terms of service. Threatening to assassinate someone doesn't reach the level of misgendering or telling unemployed journalismers they should learn to code. Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, threatening to assassinate someone is a federal crime, just so you know. Do I think Musk is on our side politically? No. Tim Buck says he disagrees with overturning Roe v. Wade, but he at least acknowledges the problem with social media platforms and wants to address it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Elon Musk is a conservative. I don't think Joe Rogan is a conservative. Bill Maher is not a conservative. But these are people on the left that see a fundamental problem with their party that they typically affiliate with, and they're not going to be a part of it. They're trying to kind of like be somewhere in the middle, I guess. I guess they would technically be considered libertarians now, I guess. I don't know what you would call them. They're not conservative by any means. They probably disagree with us on a lot of things. But they at least believe in the Constitution and the thought of free speech, that we do have that it is enshrined in the Constitution, and we shouldn't be silenced just because our political opinions are different than the left's. And he doesn't intend to silence the left either, so they just don't like the fact that we'll be able to talk. Update here from the Daily Wire on Alec Baldwin. I feel like I'm moving through this way too fast, but oh well, because I want to get to this last thing that I wanted to do, and I don't know how long I've been recording. So, quote, I shot the gun. Alec Baldwin's statement to cops post-Rust shooting reveals new details. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office shared body cam footage, crime scene photos, witness interviews, and text messages they've gathered so far, which help paint a clearer picture of the 64-year-old actor's involvement in the shooting that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins after a gun Alec Baldwin was holding discharged in October. The 30 Rock alum has maintained all along that he never touched the trigger of the .45 caliber Old West revolver. During an interview with ABC News in December, Baldwin said he cocked the gun but, quote, did not pull the trigger. He said he was sad for what happened, but ultimately wasn't the cause of Hutchins' death. Quote, someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but it's not me, Baldwin said at the time. New footage of the interview shortly following the Rust shooting reveals more details about what happened that fateful day. In the first moments of his interview, Baldwin inquires if he's being charged with anything. The deputy confirms he's just there for questioning and says the actor has already been read his Miranda rights. Quote, when I shot the gun away from the cameraman, I never aimed the gun at the camera. I turned and I went like this, he told investigators, making a gun with his finger and demonstrating, Fox News reported. Quote, and she was there, and the gun went off, and she just went right on the ground. I take the gun out slowly, I turn and cock the pistol, bang! Hutchins hits the ground, she goes down. Sousa goes down screaming. He's like, Jesus Christ! Baldwin also says, according to the New York Post, it's supposed to be a cold gun. Now this is a puzzle to me. This is making me very emotional. Baldwin also says, Hannah handed me the gun, referencing on-set armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed. In a video taken by police earlier the same day, Baldwin was recorded making calls to multiple people as he awaits his interview with law enforcement. Quote, you have no idea how unbelievable this is and how strange this is, the actor can be heard saying while speaking on the phone. I don't want to be a public person, Baldwin says in the recorded footage. I'm the one holding a gun in my hand that everyone was supposed to have taken care of. Baldwin was named in a lawsuit filed by Hutchins' family, claiming the actor and the film's producers were responsible for, quote, reckless conduct and cost-cutting measures, which, quote, led to the death of Helena Hutchins. So, I guess, he still hasn't been charged. I'm still trying to figure out why he hasn't been charged. I think there's several people that could be charged. I think he could be charged for neglect. I think that the armorer can be charged, and maybe the producer, I don't know, the other producer that was on set. There's several people that should be charged, But Alec Baldwin, of all people, should, because he was the one holding the gun at the time it went off. He was the one not practicing safety measures with the gun, because he says in the interview that he did point it towards her. He did say that in the interview. And I'm sorry, but guns don't just go off without pulling a trigger. You don't just lift it up and it just goes off. You have to pull the trigger. If you're just holding it there. Maybe a gun could pop off if you drop it. Maybe. I feel like that would be very rare. But if you're just holding it in your hand and you're not touching the trigger, that gun should not go off. So the fact that he said he didn't touch it, I don't believe that. I believe he pulled the trigger thinking that it was a blank, and it wasn't. So I'm still waiting for that. I don't know what I want to talk about next. Well, let's talk about this really quickly, and then I'll get to the last thing that I wanted to do. This is, so on The View, co-host Sunny, is it Hostin? Hostin? I don't know how you say your name. She says that Supreme Court justices who don't vote to uphold Roe v. Wade are hypocrites if they don't want protesters at their personal homes, which, by the way, if you go and protest outside of a Supreme Court or any judge's home, or in a building where they're conducting their business as a judge, that is a federal crime. So I'm waiting for these people that are doing this to get arrested, which obviously we know they won't. But it says, her remarks come on the heels of protests against the Supreme Court draft decision that would overturn Roe v. Wade. Demonstrations have taken place outside of the homes of several justices, including Chief Justice John Roberts, Samuel Alito, and more. So during Monday's broadcast of the ABC daytime talk show, Hostin argued that Supreme Court justices' privacy is no different than women's rights to abortion, except that it's a crime to do what they're doing. This is what she says. I was watching a lot of the protests that were happening outside of some of the justices' homes, and my understanding is that Justice Alito has had to go into hiding because of this, draft opinion that was leaked. And while I think it is terrible that a justice would have to go into hiding, I think it is really clear to the justices now that, as Anna Navarro mentioned, 64 to 60% of Americans believe that the Supreme Court should uphold Roe v. Wade, right? And I don't think that that's actually correct numbers. I think that's very biased numbers, because I do think that a lot of people believe that this should be returned back to the states. I do believe that. She added that perhaps the protest and resulting outcry from the leaked draft may urge justices to consider a quote-unquote more moderate approach, which that is a crime to do something to encourage or persuade a judge to change their mind on a decision, and I don't think it's going to work. She said, and I just think when you have the Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas coming out this weekend and saying at the 11th Circuit Judicial Conference that they will not be bullied and that people need to live with outcomes they don't agree with, she continued, trailing off. She added that she believes while Supreme Court justices have rights to privacy, women too have the same rights. Well, I can tell you that there is not a right to abortions in the Constitution, and there actually isn't even a constitutional right to privacy. That's not a thing. It's not a thing at all. Go read your Constitution. Then she says, and then other justices are saying you have no right to stand and freely protest, peacefully protest outside of our homes. You don't. You're committing a crime. We have a right to privacy. Well, women have a right to privacy as well, and women have a right to privacy with their bodies, and I'm just shocked that that's what we're hearing from men. That's what we're hearing from the justices. That's what we're hearing from, Republicans, that people don't have a right to protest this draft opinion when the Supreme Court has found that you have a right to protest in front of abortion clinics, that there can be no buffer zone. The hypocrisy, she complained, is incredible. So what she's doing, she's taking what they're saying out of context. You don't have a right to protest in front of a judge's home. That is a crime. You have a right to protest, but there are proper places to protest. So they're not saying that you can't protest at all. They're just saying you can't commit a crime while you're protesting. And would she want people outside her home protesting her? Probably not. But would that be hypocritical of her to say, I have the right to privacy in my home and you can't come protest here? Except if you go protest in front of Sunny's home, it's not a crime because she's not a judge. So, something about people on the radical left, their brains just don't click right. they don't really get it, they're dumb. They're idiots. They really are. Okay, so I saw this on The Blaze, and I wanted to do this because, Roe v. Wade is really big right now, and this is a quiz, and it says, don't be a lib. Do you know the real facts around abortion? So I wanted to take this quiz and see how much I actually know about the subject that I'm so passionate about. So let's start the quiz. What percentage of abortions are performed because the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest? That is less than 1%. Pro-abortion advocates frequently chant, quote, "my body, my choice," in defending abortion. At what age does a human fetus have a detectable heartbeat? I think it's 6 weeks. It could be 21 days, but I'm pretty sure it's 6 weeks. Pro-abortion advocates often chant, quote, "never go back," and claim women will perform abortions on themselves with coat hangers if abortion is made illegal. Prior to abortion's legalization in 1973, where were most or 90% of abortions performed? At a doctor's office. It was not in a back alley. This whole coat hanger thing, it's not true. According to the CDC, in 1972, the year prior to Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion, how many women died in illegal abortions? I think it's 1 to 50. I think. So this is something I don't know, so maybe I should learn this one myself. True or false? Most women who seek abortion use some form of birth control. False. I think that is their form of birth control. True or false? In 1965, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists changed the definition of, quote, pregnancy from the moment of conception to implantation. Probably true. Your score, 4 out of 6. So I got the less than 1% right. I got this one wrong. So it is 21 days after fertilization. Well, I was wrong on that. A doctor's office, yes. 1 to 50, yes. So most women who seek abortion use some form of birth control. I guess, so they do. Okay. I just don't believe that. But whatever. Just because they say they're on birth control doesn't actually mean they are. And then I did get changing the definition correct. So, but I'm not gonna buy the shirt. Anyway, all right, that's the episode. I just wanted to take that quiz, see how much I know about something that I talk about and that I'm passionate about, and I learned some new things. But clearly, I'm pretty educated on abortion. So I'll end the episode here, and I hope you had a good time hanging out with me. Don't forget, just go check me out on YouTube. I'm going to figure out how to get this up on Spotify, I guess. I don't know how to do that. But check me out on YouTube. You can go watch my videos there, like and share. You can check me out on Rumble. I just got to say something as well. I'm going to start putting my videos back up on Rumble more every time. And then you can go to my Linktree and get to all of my social media accounts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. That would be really great. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, and God bless.